I'm Kelsey Morrison, 34 years old, and I work as a financial analyst in San Diego. I have a younger sister named Whitney. She's 31, married to this guy named Brandon, and they have 2 kids together. Our parents have always treated her like she could do no wrong, like she was made of glass and I was made of steel. A few years back, I did something I was incredibly proud of. I saved up every single penny I could spare from my salary and bought myself a beach house in Malibu. It wasn't massive or anything fancy, but God, it was mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted it. Soft ivory walls, this gorgeous sectional in the living room that cost me 3 months' salary, and an art studio on the 2nd floor where I could paint and just breathe. That house became my personal sanctuary, the place I went when work got too stressful or when I needed to clear my head and remember who I was. My parents live nearby in Pasadena, and Whitney and her family rent a place across town. I see them at holidays mostly, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the occasional birthday. Things were fine between us, or at least I thought they were. So that Tuesday morning, my phone rang while I was making coffee. It was Whitney. "Hey, Kels," she said, using that nickname I've never liked. "I've got some news. We're moving into your Malibu house tomorrow." I almost dropped my coffee mug. The ceramic was hot in my hand, and for a second I thought maybe I'd heard her wrong. "What?" "Yeah, the rent on our place is just way too expensive now. We can't afford it anymore, so we're moving into your house. It makes sense, right? You hardly ever use it." My brain was struggling to process what she was saying. "Whitney, you can't just move into my house. It's my house." "Oh, and by the way," she continued, like I hadn't even spoken, "I already had some work done. The living room wallpaper was so boring and outdated, so I had it replaced with this really cool geometric pattern in teal and gold. Looks amazing. And that sectional of yours? I had it reupholstered. Much better now, more family-friendly. Oh, and I need you to transfer me $5,200 for the contractors. They did a fantastic job." I had to sit down. I literally had to pull out a kitchen chair and sit because my legs felt weak. "Whitney, what are you talking about? Who gave you permission to do any of that?" "Permission?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Kels, don't be so dramatic. I got the spare key from Dad. Mom and Dad think it's a great idea. We're family. You should be helping us out." Then she hung up. Just like that. Ended the call like she just told me about a dentist appointment. I sat there staring at my phone, my hand shaking. The coffee was getting cold in front of me, but I couldn't move. This wasn't real. This couldn't be happening. I called my mother immediately. "Mom, did you know Whitney is trying to move into my house?" "Oh, yes, sweetheart," Mom said in that sweet, placating voice she uses when she wants me to go along with something. She told us all about it. It's really the best solution for everyone. Their rent is so high, and you barely use that house anyway. It just sits there empty most of the time. It's my house, Mom. I bought it with my own money. Every payment, every piece of furniture. "Well, yes, dear, but family helps family," she interrupted. "You know how much Whitney is struggling with 2 young children. And it's such a big house for just one person who hardly visits. She's just making it more comfortable for the kids. You should see it. It looks lovely. Whitney has such wonderful taste." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. This wasn't new. This was the exact same pattern that had played out my entire life. When Whitney borrowed my diamond earrings for a date and returned them with one missing, Mom said I should forgive her. They were just earrings. When Whitney took my car for what was supposed to be a weekend trip and kept it for 3 months, returning it with a massive dent in the passenger door, Dad said it was just an accident and I shouldn't make such a big deal out of it. When Whitney wore my favorite dress to a gala and spilled red wine all over it, they bought her a new outfit and told me the dress was old anyway and I should have been ready to replace it. "Mom, this is different. This is my house. My property. Kelsey, don't be selfish. Whitney needs this more than you do." I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. My whole body felt hot with anger, my heart pounding in my chest like I'd just run a marathon. I called Whitney back. This time, I turned on my phone's voice recorder. I had a feeling I was going to need proof of this conversation. "Did you talk to Mom?" Whitney asked when she picked up. Yes, and my answer is absolutely no. You cannot move into my house. Too late, Kels. Everything is already packed. The wallpaper is up. The sectional is done. We are moving in tomorrow morning, and you owe me $5,200. I owe you nothing. Get out of my house right now. It's happening whether you like it or not. Send me the money by Friday. Then she hung up again. I grabbed my car keys. I had to see this for myself. I had to know how bad it really was. The drive from San Diego to Malibu took about 2 hours, but I barely noticed the traffic on the 405. My mind was racing the entire way, replaying every conversation, every excuse my parents had made for Whitney over the years. How dare she? How could my parents support this? I arrived in the late afternoon. The sun was starting its descent toward the Pacific, casting golden light across the water. The first thing I noticed were new curtains in the windows. Heavy, dark curtains I definitely hadn't bought. I used my key to open the front door. Nobody was inside. They must have gone back to the city for something. I walked in and immediately felt sick to my stomach. My beautiful ivory walls in the living room were gone. In their place was this awful geometric wallpaper in teal and gold that looked like something from a tacky hotel lobby. In the kitchen, someone had installed a cheap spice rack system, and I could see rough drill holes in the pristine white wall where they'd mounted it without any care. The living room was even worse. My gorgeous sectional, the one I'd saved up for and loved, had been reupholstered in some terrible fabric with loud floral patterns. It looked like something you'd find at a yard sale. I went upstairs to my studio. The calm white walls I'd painted so carefully were now bright coral, not a soft coral, but in-your-face, Miami nightclub coral. I felt tears starting to form. But I pushed them back. I wouldn't cry. Not yet. Then I noticed something in the corner of the room, a small surveillance camera. I'd almost forgotten about those. 5 months ago, I'd installed 6 cameras around the house for security after there'd been some break-ins in the neighborhood. They recorded automatically and saved everything to cloud storage. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened the security app. I scrolled back through the recordings, my heart pounding. 12 days ago, the video showed Whitney walking up to my front door like she owned the place. She used a key to let herself in, my father's spare key. Then contractors followed her inside with supplies, paint cans, rolls of wallpaper. I turned up the volume on my phone. I want the living room done in this teal and gold pattern, Whitney was saying to one of the contractors. Something modern and bold. And this sectional needs completely new upholstery. Something with flowers, more cheerful. Another video showed her on the phone. I recognized Dad's voice on the other end. Dad, you should see this place. When we move in next week, it'll be perfect for us. Kelsey is going to be so shocked when she sees it. She was laughing. Actually laughing about stealing my house. Brandon appeared in the background of one video, looking uncomfortable. Whitney, are you absolutely sure about this? Did Kelsey really say it was okay? Don't worry about it, Whitney said, waving her hand dismissively. Mom and Dad are on our side. She'll get over it eventually. She always does. I took dozens of photos of every ruined room. I backed up all the security videos to 3 different cloud services. I saved the recording of my phone call with Whitney. Then I locked up the house and drove back to San Diego, my mind already working through what I needed to do next. The next morning, I was sitting in a leather chair across from Mr. Lawrence Bennett in his office in downtown San Diego. He was a lawyer someone at work had recommended when I'd asked around quietly. Tell me what happened, he said, pulling out a legal pad. I showed him everything. The photos of my ruined house. The security videos of Whitney letting in contractors and giving them detailed instructions. The recording of her demanding $5,200 from me. He watched the video where Whitney was on the phone with my father. When she said, "When we move in, it'll be perfect for us," he raised his eyebrows. "Miss Morrison, this is extremely serious," he said carefully. "What your sister did amounts to several crimes. Trespassing, for one, she entered your property without your explicit permission. Vandalism, because she deliberately damaged your property. And this demand for money could be considered attempted extortion. What are my options? You have 2 main paths here. First option, a civil lawsuit. We sue for the cost of restoring the house to its original condition, plus compensation for your emotional distress and any other damages we can prove. Second option, we pursue the civil suit and also file criminal charges. That means involving the police directly. I didn't even hesitate. The second one. I want criminal charges filed. Mr. Bennett nodded slowly, studying my face. That's the more severe option. Your sister could end up with a criminal record. This could affect her employment, her custody arrangement. Are you absolutely sure? I'm sure. She's gotten away with things my entire life. Not this time. All right, then. I'll prepare an official demand letter and send it to your sister by certified mail. That's the required first step. Then we'll file a formal complaint with the police. I signed the retainer agreement and wrote him a check. Walking out of that office, I felt something I hadn't felt in years when it came to my family. I felt like I had some actual control over my own life. 4 days went by. I went to work, came home to my apartment, and waited. I didn't call anyone in my family. I didn't respond to any messages. Then my phone started exploding. Whitney called 8 times in 2 hours. She sent text after text. Call me. We need to talk now. This is absolutely ridiculous. You're being completely insane. I didn't answer. I knew she'd received the certified letter from Mr. Bennett. I knew she was panicking now that she realized this wasn't just going to blow over like everything else always had. Then my mother called. I almost didn't pick up, but I decided I wanted to hear this. Kelsey, what have you done? Mom's voice was shrill, higher pitched than usual. Whitney got a letter from some lawyer accusing her of trespassing and vandalism and extortion. This is absolutely outrageous. How could you do this to your own sister? It's not outrageous, Mom. It's the truth. She's your sister. She needed help. You have that big house sitting empty half the year, and she has 2 children to think about. 2 innocent children. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Is there a specific reason you called, Mom? We are having a family meeting tomorrow at the Malibu house. All of us. We are going to settle this like adults instead of through lawyers and threats. I'll come, I said. But I'm bringing something with me. Tell Whitney this is her last chance. If she takes all her stuff and leaves before I get there tomorrow, I'll consider dropping the criminal charges. If she doesn't, she's going to face real consequences. Prison time, Mom. A permanent criminal record. Mom hung up on me without another word. I called Mr. Bennett immediately and told him about the family meeting. He said to be extremely careful and not to agree to anything without consulting him first. He also said the police complaint was ready, and he'd already filed it with the district attorney's office. The next day, I drove to Malibu. The morning traffic was light, and I made good time. When I pulled up to the house, I saw a large black SUV parked in my driveway, my parents' car. There were moving boxes stacked on my front porch. I walked to the door and let myself in with my key. They were all waiting in the living room: Mom, Dad, Whitney, and Brandon. There were more boxes stacked in the corner, clearly their belongings. The awful teal and gold wallpaper seemed even worse in the morning light. There she is, Dad said. His voice was cold, distant. Sit down, Kelsey. We need to talk about this lawsuit nonsense you've started. There's nothing to talk about, I said, remaining standing. Whitney needs to leave my house. Today. We've already moved in, Whitney said. She had her arms crossed, looking defiant. The house is renovated how we want it. We are staying, and that's final. This house belongs to the whole family, Mom said. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying for hours. You can't just kick your sister and her children out onto the street. I pulled a folded document from my purse. This is the deed to the house. See this name? Kelsey Morrison. I'm the sole owner. Not you, not Dad, not Whitney. Only me. Whitney laughed. Actually laughed out loud. That piece of paper doesn't mean anything at this point. We already live here. We've already renovated everything. You can't make us leave now. I reached into my purse again and pulled out another document, this one thicker. This is a formal police complaint. It lists trespassing, property damage, vandalism, and attempted extortion. All criminal charges. You and Brandon have created a serious legal problem for yourselves, and if you don't leave right now, within the next hour, I'm going through with absolutely everything." The room went completely quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Brandon's face went pale, almost grey. "Whitney, you told me Kelsey agreed to this," he said, his voice shaking. "You said she was completely fine with it. You said it was her idea to help us out." "She's lying." Whitney shouted at him, her face flushing red. "She's making everything up because she's jealous. You're the one who lied." Brandon shouted back, standing up. "I asked you 4 times if you were absolutely sure, and you kept saying your sister had agreed to everything." They started screaming at each other, their voices getting louder and more desperate. Mom started crying, saying I was a terrible daughter who was destroying the family over nothing. Dad was shaking his head, telling me I was taking revenge on my sister for some imagined slight from childhood. Then someone knocked firmly on the door. I walked over and opened it. 2 police officers stood there in uniform, a man and a woman, both looking professional and serious. "Miss Kelsey Morrison?" the male officer asked, checking a notepad. "That's me. We're here about a criminal complaint you filed. Is Miss Whitney Chambers here?" "I'm Whitney Chambers," my sister said from behind me. Her voice was shaking now, all the defiance gone. "Miss Chambers, we need you to come with us to the police station to give a formal statement regarding charges of trespassing, property damage, and attempted extortion." Whitney's face went red, then white, then red again. "This is completely insane. She's my sister. This is a family matter." We need you to come with us," the female officer said firmly. "Everyone except Miss Morrison needs to leave this property immediately. The items you've brought here will need to stay. They'll be documented as evidence." They escorted everyone out. Mom was crying hysterically. Dad was yelling about lawyers and family loyalty. Brandon looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. Whitney was screaming threats at me as they walked her to the police car, saying I'd regret this for the rest of my life. I stood in the doorway of my ruined house and watched them all leave. The sun was bright overhead, reflecting off the ocean. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe properly. The next day, I called Mr. Bennett from my apartment. "Can I start fixing the house now? I want to get rid of that horrible wallpaper and restore the sectional." "Don't touch anything yet," he said firmly. "The damage your sister caused is our primary evidence. We need everything exactly as it is for the trial. I know it's difficult, but you have to wait." I was disappointed. Every time I thought about that house with its teal and gold wallpaper and coral walls, I felt physically sick. But I understood. Evidence was evidence. So I waited. I went to work every day, focusing on my portfolio analysis and client meetings. I avoided my parents' calls. They tried constantly for the first 2 weeks. I didn't go to the Malibu house because I couldn't stand seeing it destroyed like that. Mr. Bennett kept me updated on everything. Whitney had hired a lawyer, a decent one from a firm in Los Angeles. My parents were helping pay for it, of course. They'd always helped Whitney with everything. 3 months later, the trial happened. I wore a professional Navy suit and met Mr. Bennett at the courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. My parents were already there, sitting directly behind Whitney in the gallery. Brandon wasn't with them. I found out later he'd filed for divorce the week after the police came to the house. He was seeking full custody of both kids and using Whitney's criminal behavior as his primary justification. Smart guy. He'd finally figured out exactly who he'd married. The trial started. Whitney's lawyer tried desperately to make it sound like a simple family misunderstanding. He argued that Whitney genuinely thought she had permission because her parents had given her the spare key. He said she was just trying to make the house nicer and more suitable for children. He said the money she'd asked for was perfectly reasonable because she'd actually paid the contractors herself first. Then Whitney took the witness stand. She was crying, real tears streaming down her face. She said I'd betrayed her in the worst possible way. She said family was supposed to help each other unconditionally. She said she couldn't believe her own sister was doing this to her and her innocent children. My parents were nodding along in the gallery, looking at me like I was the criminal, like I was the villain in this story. Then it was Mr. Bennett's turn. He set up a large monitor in the courtroom, right where the jury could see it clearly. "I'd like to show some security footage from Miss Morrison's property," he said calmly. He played the videos. First, the one showing Whitney opening the door with the key and confidently letting contractors inside. Then the one where she was giving them detailed instructions about changing everything, pointing at walls and furniture. Then the big one, the video where she was on the phone with my father. Her voice came through the courtroom speakers, crystal clear. "Dad, you should see this place. Kelsey is going to be so shocked. When we move in, it'll be perfect for us." The courtroom went completely silent. Whitney's face turned bright red. Her lawyer looked down at his papers, shuffling them nervously. My mother stopped nodding. "When we move in, it'll be perfect for us," Mr. Bennett repeated slowly, looking directly at the jury. "Not when we visit. Not when we borrow it. When we move in." Mrs. Chambers had every intention of taking permanent possession of her sister's property without permission. He played the audio recording of our phone call, where Whitney had demanded $5,200. Her voice sounded aggressive, entitled, completely different from the crying victim she'd been pretending to be on the witness stand. The jury went to deliberate. It didn't take them long at all, maybe 45 minutes. "We find the defendant guilty on all charges." Whitney started crying again, real crying this time, not the performative stuff from earlier. The judge looked at her without any visible sympathy. "Miss Chambers, you are sentenced to 18 months of probation. You will have a permanent criminal record. In the civil matter, you are ordered to pay $97,000 in compensation to Miss Morrison for property damage, legal fees, emotional distress, and punitive damages." $97,000. I hadn't expected it to be quite that much. Mr. Bennett had done extensive homework on repair costs, plus he'd argued successfully for substantial punitive damages. Whitney collapsed in her chair. Her lawyer was talking to her quietly, but she clearly wasn't listening. My mother was sobbing loudly. My father looked like someone had physically punched him in the stomach. After the trial ended, my parents tried to approach me in the courthouse hallway. I walked straight past them without saying a single word, keeping my eyes forward. Over the next few weeks, I heard things through relatives who were still willing to talk to me. Brandon's divorce went through remarkably fast. He got full custody of both kids. The judge cited Whitney's criminal record as a major factor. Whitney had to sell her car immediately to start paying the debt. She sold jewelry, furniture, designer bags, anything valuable. She took out a high-interest loan for the rest. She moved back in with our parents because she literally had nowhere else to go. My parents told everyone they knew that I'd betrayed my sister in the cruelest way possible. They said I was heartless, vindictive, that I destroyed Whitney's life over something trivial. But here's the thing about communities, even in a big city like Los Angeles, word gets around. People found out what really happened. They saw the court documents that became public record. They heard about the security footage showing Whitney's lies. Suddenly, my parents weren't getting invited to things anymore. People at their church started sitting in different sections. Their friends made excuses not to come over for dinner. They'd supported Whitney stealing from me, and now they were facing real consequences for that choice. I deleted every family contact from my phone. Mom, Dad, Whitney, all the relatives who'd called me heartless and cruel for pressing charges. I was done with every single one of them. A month after the trial ended, I finally got to fix my house. I hired professional interior designers to strip that awful teal and gold wallpaper and replace it with something calm and beautiful, a soft sage green with subtle texture. I had the sectional restored to its original cream upholstery by specialists. I repainted the studio a soft dove grey. I fixed the drill holes in the kitchen wall and installed a proper, tasteful spice rack system. When everything was done, the house looked even better than before. I started going there almost every weekend. Just me, my art supplies, and the sound of the ocean. I had all the locks changed and got completely new security codes. I was the only person with keys now. The only person who would ever have keys. Last week, a cousin who'd supported me through everything called with an update. She told me Whitney was living in my parents' converted garage. They'd turned it into a small bedroom for her. She was working 3 jobs to pay off the loan, a day shift at a medical billing office, evenings at a call center, and weekend mornings at a coffee shop. She looked exhausted every time my cousin saw her, dark circles under her eyes, losing weight. 6 months after the trial, I'm living a completely different life. My Malibu house has become exactly what I always wanted it to be, a true refuge. I go there most weekends now. Sometimes I paint in my studio for hours. Sometimes I just sit on the deck with coffee and watch the waves roll in. Work is going incredibly well. I got promoted to senior analyst with a substantial raise. My boss commented that I seem more focused, more confident than ever. I didn't tell him about the family drama. I just did my job better than I ever had before. I've made new friends through a yoga class near the beach. We meet Saturday mornings, then sometimes get breakfast after. They don't know anything about my past or my family situation. They just know me as Kelsey, the woman who loves the ocean and makes terrible puns about financial markets. My parents kept trying to reach me for months after the trial. Long emails about family bonds and Christian forgiveness. Voicemails from my mother sobbing about how I'd torn the family apart. My father leaving messages saying I should be ashamed of myself. I deleted everything without reading or listening. After a while, they finally stopped trying. The cousin who kept me informed told me more details about Whitney's situation. She's still working those 3 jobs: the medical billing office, the call center, the coffee shop. The loan payments eat up almost everything she earns. Brandon has remarried already, some woman from his accounting firm. The kids seem genuinely happy from what my cousin says. They live in a nice neighborhood in Pasadena, and Brandon's new wife is apparently really wonderful with them. Whitney gets supervised visitation every other weekend, but that's all. The criminal record destroyed any chance she had of getting real custody. My parents' social life has completely fallen apart. My mother tried going to their usual grocery store and ran into some of her longtime friends. They literally turned around and walked down another aisle to avoid her. My father was asked to step down from a community board he'd been on for 15 years. Nobody wanted to be associated with them anymore. I heard all this through my cousin, and honestly, I didn't feel bad about any of it. They'd made their choices. They'd always chosen Whitney over me, always told me to forgive her, to let things go, to be the bigger person. Well, I'd been the bigger person for 34 years. I was done. My house is absolutely beautiful now, better than it ever was before. The interior designer did an incredible job. The living room has my restored sectional plus new chairs that match perfectly. The kitchen looks pristine with everything properly repaired. My studio upstairs has that soft grey paint and new lighting that's perfect for painting. I also upgraded the entire security system. More cameras, better locks, a sophisticated alarm system. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I want to feel completely safe. This is my space, my sanctuary. Nobody is ever taking it from me again. Last month, I was at the grocery store near my San Diego apartment. It was late evening, maybe 9:30. I needed milk and vegetables for the week. I was walking down an aisle when I saw her. Whitney. She was wearing a green employee vest, restocking shelves. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked thin, exhausted, older than 31. She had that hollow look people get when they're working too hard and sleeping too little. She saw me at exactly the same moment I saw her. We both froze. For a second, I thought she might say something, maybe yell at me, maybe start crying right there in the store. But she didn't. She just looked at me with these empty, defeated eyes, then turned back to her boxes and kept stocking shelves like I wasn't even there. I finished my shopping and left. Driving home, I tried to figure out exactly how I felt. Did I feel sorry for her? No. Did I feel guilty? Not at all. Did I feel satisfied seeing her like that? Not really. I just felt nothing. Complete neutrality. She tried to take something that was mine. She thought she could get away with it because she always had before, because our parents had always protected her, always made me back down. She'd been wrong. Sometimes my cousin asks me if I ever think about reaching out to my family, about trying to reconcile somehow. I always give her the same answer: no. They showed me who they were. Whitney showed me who she was. I believed them. I have my house on the ocean. I have my career that's better than ever. I have new friends who don't come with decades of baggage and resentment and one-sided expectations. I have peace. That's more than enough for me. People talk about family like it's everything, like blood means you have to forgive anything. But I learned something important through all of this. Family is supposed to respect you and support you, not steal from you, not expect you to sacrifice everything while they take and take without ever giving anything back. I spent 34 years being the responsible one. The one who gave in, the one who forgave, the one who made herself smaller so Whitney could shine brighter. I'm done with that version of myself. Now I'm just Kelsey. The woman with the beautiful beach house in Malibu. The senior financial analyst. The terrible pun maker at yoga class. The person who learned to set boundaries and actually keep them. And I sleep better than I ever have in my entire life. Whitney is working 3 jobs, living in my parents' garage, paying off a debt she earned by trying to steal from me. My parents are isolated and alone, facing the consequences of always choosing the wrong daughter to support. And me? I'm free. That's the end of it. That's my story. I don't regret a single decision I made. Not the lawyer, not the criminal charges, not cutting them all off completely. Some people might think I was too harsh, too unforgiving. Those people have never spent their whole lives coming second to a spoiled younger sister who never faced a single consequence. I took my life back. My house, my peace of mind, my self-respect. And I'm never giving any of it up ever again.